When people ask, how are you? Do you say tired or do you say busy? What if they're the same thing? What if they're both just a lack of rest? What if there's a way to weaponize your rest? Well, there is, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. This is Survival Guide. Rawr. Welcome to week 4 of the Survival Guide, where we're going to talk about how you can weaponize your rest. And watch this. Are you ready? Survival Guide time. Here we go. And on the 7th day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day. God blessed the 7th day and made it holy. Wow, this is the very start of the Bible, and it talks about how God himself rested on the 7th day, and then he gave us specific commands. Now, we all know about the 10 golden do's and don'ts, right? The 10 commandments. But here's the thing, the first few are don'ts. Do you want to know what the very first do of the holy do's and don'ts are? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Rest is the word. This is the word that's commanded, not suggested, commanded throughout the Bible from end to end. And here's the thing, it says that rest is holy, which means next time you're lying in bed and someone says to you, get up and do something, stop being lazy, say, leave me to my holiness. This is not a request. This is a commandment. And the thing is, God commanded you to do something that he did himself. This is the only kind of day that was commanded. There's no commandment, get out there and do some work. There is a commandment to rest. You probably don't want to use that as an excuse to ring in sick from work. But all this was written 4,000 years ago. And maybe you don't believe the Bible like I do. Maybe you don't even believe in God. But here's the thing that you can't deny. 4,000 years ago, whoever wrote this, they were onto something. Because I'm going to read you something else. Sleep deficiency is linked to heart and kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity and depression, poor judgment and relationship issues. You struggle with what these guys wrote about 4,000 years ago, right? They got it. For some reason, we still don't. Why? Why do we get this so wrong? I mean, even Google hasn't got a clue on this. In researching this talk today, I actually looked at how to get good rest on Google. Do you know what it gave me? Loads and loads of results on how to get good sleep. But the thing is, rest and sleep, they're not the same thing, because you can rest without sleeping. And we all know that sometimes you can sleep and you do not feel rested at all. It gets even better. When you're not rested, you can't sleep. You know that feeling where you just can't get to sleep because for some reason you're not rested and your body isn't letting you sleep. Now, there's one thing that you absolutely know already, which is that rest is an essential tool. It's really important for life. But I'm going to go one step further and say rest is an essential weapon. I mean, think about it. If a lack of rest means all of those physical and psychological ailments that we just talked about, then having rest is your way of defending against them. But it's also how you overcome things in life, and that means it's an offensive weapon. But you got to learn how to weaponize your rest, because better rest equals a better life. So you've got to know how to treat it and how and when to use it for your benefit. Let me give you an example. Meet Colonel Cooper, one of the NASA astronauts. Before they went to the moon, he was doing some of the orbital flights, and there was a point where he was sat in the rocket, he was ready to take off, but they had all kinds of gubbins going on, and they had some issues that they had to sort out, so all the techs were running around while he sat there on top of the world's biggest firework, waiting for launch, and they hear a noise on the radio. What's that noise? We can't figure it out. What machine is making that? We don't know. And then they realized he was snoring. He was asleep. He was about to take off in a rocket into space and he'd fallen asleep. Wouldn't you love to be able to do that? But this is more than just it being cool to be able to sleep at a time like that. He was using his rest. There's nothing he could do. That was for other people to sort those issues. He was going to need to be rested, so now's a good time to get it. He knew how to weaponize his rest. Would you like to know how to? Well, step one is to make sure that you know your weapon. So let's look at what rest is and what rest isn't so that we can train you how to use it well. Point one, rest isn't doing nothing. It can be easy to think that rest is just kind of sitting still, but you know that you've been restless and you can't sleep. You're lying in bed doing nothing, but you can't sleep because you're restless, right? When you've got something on your mind of work you've got to do in the future, doing nothing doesn't help because your mind is racing. Point two, rest comes after action. You have to be doing something in order to then rest. Otherwise, you're not resting, you're just being lazy. Rest is what you do after you've been doing something active. That's what makes it rest. When God gave that commandment to rest, that implied do work until you're tired and then stop. Step three, rest is recharging. And this is what makes it important. This is where it gets its value. Think about it. A boxing match without breaks wouldn't last very long, right? They keep stopping. Why do they stop? So the boxers can recharge. And that 1 minute recharge lets them do another 3 minutes of high power work. So let me ask you this. What is it that needs recharging in your life? Because that's the secret to you getting good rest in whatever your situation is. Is it your energy that needs recharging? Is it your vision? Is it your purpose? Know what needs recharging so that you know how to define what good rest is for you. Number four, rest prepares you for action. So rest comes after action to prepare you for the action that's coming next, which means you can't be in action when you're doing it. And you know this, that rest is when you switch off. It's not just being still in your body, it's being still in your mind. You can't be in action when you're preparing yourself for action. You need to stop. But the counterpoint to this is that rest is prepared for during action. The things that you do now affect what you'll be able to do when you're trying to rest. So tiring yourself out now will help your body to switch off. Doing the things that you need to now will help your mind to switch off. And to really understand how resting your body and resting your mind comes together and they need to work together, you've got to recognize the big truth, which is that rest is spiritual and you know it. It doesn't come from your body. Your body needs to be rested in order to sleep. It doesn't come from your mind. Your mind needs to be rested in order to switch off. No. Rest is spiritual and you know it. And let me just push into that a little more. You see, rest is being satisfied with who you are, with where you are, with what you've done. Rest is all about switching off that voice that says, I just need to do this. I need to call that guy back. I need to do that project. I need to cross one more thing off my list. Rest is being able to say deep down in your spirit, I'm good here. Let's put all that in a sentence. Rest is being calm in a storm. Oh wait, we've got the survival guide. This tells a story about being calm in a storm. Let's have a look at what the big guy did. Seems there's a story in here about Jesus when he'd done a whole bunch of work healing people and whatnot, and they're crossing the sea to get to the other side, and a storm comes up. And what is Jesus doing? He's asleep. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? He got up, rebuked the wind. The cause of the problems, he told it off. He told the cause of his problems off. Wouldn't you love to be able to do that? He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Be still. Be still. Those are words we've heard before. You see, here's the thing, folks. Rest is in being still. It doesn't matter if you're asleep or not. If your body is still, it's resting. And your body can only rest when your mind is also still. And that's where we started this whole series with the words, be still. Rest is in being still because you've sorted out that if God is God, that situation isn't. So you don't need to panic, so you don't need to worry, so you don't need to constantly say, I need to do that thing, I need to worry about that thing, I've got a problem to fix. You can just say, I'm good here. The storm might be raging, but I'm just good here for a bit. which is a nice theory, isn't it? It's wonderful to think about being able to do that. But you know what? Maybe we need to give you a few practical steps. So, okay, here are 5 steps to weaponize your rest and practice and get good at being still. So here we go. Step number 1, you got to value your weapon. Understand that resting is a God-given command. It is yours by right. God said so, and nobody can argue. So you do not let anybody touch your rest. Listen, treat your rest like a redneck treats his shotgun. You don't let no one lay a hand on that thing. Don't let anybody get near it, and not just people. Don't let situations put a hand on it either. Don't let anything in your mind make you doubt the value of that weapon, because God said this is holy, so you make it important. And that means you've got to put it above anything you have to do. I know, right? It's difficult to take your mind off the things you've got to do, but trust me, understand that your rest is more important than that thing. If it helps, just say this: you can't do that thing properly unless you're rested. So concentrate on rest, and we'll pick that up when we're done. Step 2, maintain your weapon. Use it on the regular. Make sure you create a pattern for sleeping. Create a pattern for doing things that are restful besides sleeping. Get into the habit of resting in the day while you're awake. When you do that, you use it regularly and you give it regular importance, then you're keeping it in good shape. And in case you're tempted to think, I haven't got time to do that, go back and see step 1. Value that rest above the things that are worrying you. And now, step 3, you've got to recharge your weapon. That means you've got to go and do things, work, achieve things. I know in this current period of lockdown, so many things you can't do. Find some things to do. Not just busy work, but look at all the things you couldn't do, the stuff that you can catch up on. Catch up with people you've not been able to speak to. Go and do things that at the end of the day, you're going to say, I'm glad I did that. Now I can rest. Remember, rest is prepared for while you're in action. So while you're doing things, prepare yourself to be able to rest. You've got to recharge your weapon by doing things that matter, doing things that are productive, doing things you can be proud of. Recharge your rest so that your rest can recharge you. Step 4, use it fearlessly. A weapon is no good if you're afraid to use it. You will never get good at using it if you're afraid to take it out. So that means use it. And what I mean by this is use it without guilt. No fear, no guilt. It's your God-given right. It is a command of God to use the thing. So do not let anyone or any situation or any obligation make you feel guilty for resting. Use it without any fear. It's the only way a weapon can do any good at all. And finally, step number 5, and this is really important, you got to train regularly, because you're not going to be very good at this. Either you're the kind of person who can just rest all the time, in which case you probably should have been teaching this lesson this week. But most of us are not very good at resting. Most of us tire ourselves out and stress ourselves out. So understand that this is going to take practice. You're going to have to work at this. Just like with any weapon, you've got to train by using it. You've got to train, you've got to train, you've got to train. Especially if you're the kind of person who has a lot going on in your life. Especially if you're the kind of person who struggles with guilt and stress and you feel you need to please people. You're going to have to train yourself to make this important. And you do that by using it. You do that by creating that time. Create that pattern. Stick to it. Don't let anything get in the way. Make sure it's valuable. Make sure you maintain it. Stick to the routine. Make sure that you train yourself to use it. Because here's the thing. When you train yourself until resting becomes a regular way of life, you're going to get anxious and you're going to get worried. So to help you with that anxiety, just remember the pause process from week 1. I'll put the link in the comments. All you got to do is go through those pause steps and put things into perspective and then say, right, now I'm going to rest for a bit. And that's all you got to do, guys. That's it, folks. Train regularly. A weapon that you value, that you're maintaining, that you can use without fear. Train yourself to do this more and more. And you'll find that the more you do this, the more you get a good balance between rest and work. the more you're recharging your rest by doing awesome things, but the more you can do awesome things because you're recharging yourself with good rest. And we get all of this from one simple command that God gave us at the beginning of the survival guide. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Obey the first do of the golden do's and don'ts of the 10 commandments. Just obey this one and watch how your life transforms. Folks, it's really easy to weaponize your rest, but treat it like a weapon and then use it like a weapon. Your life will be so much better. And that, folks, is your lesson for this week. And that's nearly it for the series. We've got one more to do, and we thought we'd save the best for last. This is the big one. This is going to be the most important one, which is we're going to talk about how you can control what's controlling you. How you get the final say in who and what you are by just controlling what your controlling influences are. This is going to set you free of so much and put you on the right path and fix some issues. I hope you'll join us for that, because we're going to talk about that next week.